and welcome to Gardening with the Gardeners, a podcast where we discuss our favorite plants, gardens, landscape design, and all things horticulture, with a touch of our crazy homestead lifestyle thrown in.
I'm one of your hosts, Matthew Boone Gardner, a horticulturalist, landscape designer, and fourth-generation owner-operator of Boone Gardner Landscape.
And I'm Hope Gardner, Matt's wife, a horticulturalist with our local county extension office, as well as a landscape designer with the family business. And together, we make up Gardening with the Gardeners.
Welcome back. Episode 5?
Yes.
Of Gardening with the Gardeners.
And must I say, Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
That is exciting. So today, we have decided to pull Halloween into Gardening with the Gardeners, and talk about something very Halloween
Bats.
related. Yes.
And everybody's going to say, why is a gardening show talking about bats? But bats are fabulous pollinators.
They're amazing little creatures in the garden.
They eat all kinds of insects. I mean, they have all kinds of benefits. They help us on multiple levels.
Yes.
So they're great additions to the garden.
They are.
And they're our misunderstood little friends, aren't they?
They really are. And I think so many people, they're scared of bats. And we have this innate fear of bats. And,
Our society has told us for so long with Count Dracula and all this.
Exactly.
I want to suck your blood.
Well, because of Count Dracula, everybody's so afraid of them. And they get such a bad rap. But
the Mayan culture actually has Camaztaz, the god of death. So he is a bat spirit at the service of the lords of the underworld.
Oh.
The name literally means death bat in the native language, and legend says he even played a role in the origin of the sacrificial rituals that the Mayan were known for.
Well, no wonder we're scared of
So that's a little darker side of the bats.
That is dark. Some cultures actually think that they're good.
In Chinese lore, the Wufu, a Chinese lucky charm, is the bat is a symbol of luck in China.
I like that one.
Some charts display 5 bats which stand for the 5 blessings, named longevity, wealth, health, and composure, virtue, and the desire to die a natural death in old age.
Okay, so it's still got death in there, but it's a more pleasant reference to just dying a nice, peaceful death at old age.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that one much better than the Mayans. So the neat thing that, when I kind of researching for the show, everybody kind of knows about, bats a little bit. I don't think that we've really considered that they are a mammal, and they're the only mammal that can actually fly, like true flight. And so, it's really neat because they make up 1/5 of all the mammalian species worldwide. And they're found in every continent except Antarctica.
And they're more closely related to primates than rodents.
Yes.
Which is
because everybody thinks that they're like little mice or rats, and they're really not.
Exactly.
So they're our friends.
And a lot of people know about the echolocation. They use echolocation to locate insects, much like dolphins and whales. And so this system is so precise that bats can detect objects as small as a gnat or a human hair in total darkness.
Can you? Think about that.
It's crazy.
That is so cool.
I've been doing this since a child, but you can stand in an open space, a golf course, or like out
front yard.
Our front yard, because we're out in the country. And I'll take a ball cap and throw it in the air. And if there's bats flying around, they'll come right up to it and try to they'll immediately zoom around it. So it's kind of a cool way to get them to come interact with you.
It is neat. It is neat. And, I think everybody kind of knows the way, they think that when they're flying, that erratic movement when they're flying, but that's actually because they are honing in on like mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah. And they'll trap an insect with their wings or tail membranes and then reach down to take the insect in their mouth.
So they feed themselves.
And that causes, like you said, that pattern.
That erratic. Well, the neat thing about the way, part of the way that they fly is like you just mentioned. Their wings are actually extension like of what our hands would be. So
Chiroptera.
Yes.
Hand wings.
Yep. those little hand wings. So it's like fingers with that mesh, that what makes their wings up in between the fingers. And if you look at their wing, the bone structure, it really is like a thumb, a forefinger.
Like a giant hand.
Yeah.
Like the bones reaching out.
It reaches out. And I think their body structure is actually a lot closer than what we think because they have knees on their legs. And, so that tail it's very small, but they hang, upside down by their feet. And people, they actually have like little bitty legs. So they're really kind of neat. Kentucky actually has 14 different species of bats that are considered
That's a lot.
permanent or seasonal. So some of them may come up just for the winter or for the summer months, but 14. And 4 of those are federally endangered species. So we've got the Virginia big-eared bat, the Indiana bat, the gray bat, the tricolored bat. Those are all the federally endangered species. And there's one that's a federally threatened species, and that's the long-eared bat, the northern long-eared. So those are some that we have to be really careful with because they are going to be extinct if we're not careful. Actually, over the last 20 years, the population of bats has decreased over 57%. So that's really scared.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
We're losing our bats and our bees.
All of our pollinators. So bats actually don't start breeding until they're 2 years old. So 2 years. So in the, bird life or insect life.
That's a long time.
That is a long time. And they do mate in the fall. And the really interesting thing is even though they mate in the fall, the females can hold their sperm through winter, and they determine when fertilization occurs. So they do
a delayed fertilization.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
Well, it is when you think about it. So that they know when the temperature and the environment is best suited to have pups.
Wow.
Because like I said,
is that what their babies are called? Pups.
They are called pups.
That's cute.
That is cute. And the gestation period is only like 50 to 60 days. So it's not a terribly long gestation. But because, they're mammals, then they have their babies. And their babies are actually able to fly and forage within 5 weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah, it really does happen. Now, it occurs usually in May and June. So that's when these pups are typically born. And it is actually, they're protected.
Oh, yeah. They're protected by Kentucky law, by Fish and Wildlife. It's illegal to kill or hurt them or any way. But bats, they don't gnaw or chew or create new holes. So people always are worried, there's bats can get in your attics and your houses if you have holes in your structures. And bats in the belfry, that kind of thing. But they don't reopen or create new holes or old holes. Or they don't reopen old holes, and they don't as far as if you close them up, and they're not gnawing like a mouse would. So that's something and other unwarranted fears. Everybody thinks they carry rabies. I think it's like less than 1% tested positive.
Yes.
For rabies, so it's not really. It's way less than people think. Parasites, they clean themselves similar to cats, so only 30% of that. Histoplasmosis, the bat guano is usually not the source. So, and we'll talk about bat guano here in a little bit, but.
Well, because I think, people don't realize, when you're talking about guano or even like we've got chickens. So even in the chicken manure that we clean the chicken coop out, that has more chance of a histoplasmosis than the bat guano
And that's that respiratory disease?
Yes, it is. It gets in your lungs.
From chicken breeders and stuff like that get it?
Yes.
And they're not aggressive. They're misunderstood. The flight part, like you said earlier, the flight part, easy for me to say, the flight pattern, that kind of erratic behavior is what gives them kind of that people think it's scary. So,
and bats are not going to actually fly towards you. You're too big. They're looking for, like you said earlier, the gnats, the mosquitoes. They're looking for those little things.
Yeah.
So if they come towards you, they're not actually coming towards a human.
And we should never touch them.
No.
Like all the authorities say don't touch them.
No.
Because you'll probably do more harm to the bat than yourself for sure. And all healthy bats, they try to avoid humans by taking flight. So they're going to try to get away from you.
it's less than 1% of that bat population that's going to actually contract rabies and carry rabies. So, I mean, less than 1%, your risks, I mean, you don't want to ever take that risk.
If for some reason that bat does contract rabies, it manifests itself differently than in other wildlife. So like, you know how you've always heard stories of like the crazy raccoon or the dog frothing at the mouth and coming after people and things, those kind of things. A rabid infested bat actually becomes paralyzed and cannot roost or fly. So that's even more reason not to be afraid of that, because they're not going
to fly at you.
Yeah. So they're not going to come at you. So.
But that's another reason why if a bat is on the ground,
don't mess with it.
You don't want to mess with it.
Because it's probably sick or something's going on, or yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of sad. If you do see a bat on the ground, actually the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Service has on their website, they have a form that they really want you to fill out that lets you know. And that's just tracking the population because like we said, they are endangered. So you really want to kind of help Fish and Wildlife out. And it's a bat observation form. And it's very, very easy. It's just a real click, where you saw the bat, kind of the conditions. And it just lets Fish and Wildlife know where they are.
And if you want to avoid bat encounters within your structures, your home and buildings, obviously you need to bat proof that. So your chimney, you want to put a proper screen up or one of those
the covers that go over the top.
We got one just recently. The broken or sagging clapboards, you got to fix those. Attic vents, make sure that those are operating correctly. Gaps in siding, loose fitting doors, and the most obvious one, open windows, which we have a funny story about this.
Oh my goodness.
When we were living in Crestwood, we had the window open, and for some reason we didn't have a screen in that window. It was in our daughter Lily's room, wasn't it? When that bat came flying in and upstairs, and we chased it around and had to run it out the house.
No, it was this house.
It came in Crane's window. It was here.
Yes,
but it flew from both their rooms. It went from his room to her room.
And then we finally got it out the window in the laundry room.
It was so funny. It was literally like some scene out of a comedy or a movie. I mean, this bat was flying around the house, going crazy. Luckily, I was able to just kind of shoo it out, and it went right out the window. But perfect example, the bat was not messing with us or.
No, because in most cases, and it's like with all wildlife, they're more afraid of us than we are of them. So if we think hysterical. Of our fears and how scared we are of bats and those poor little guys, I mean, we're giants compared to them.
Yeah.
They don't want to be anywhere near us.
But it got out. It got out easier than we've had encounters with all kinds of animals and things, and it went out of the house a lot easier than most things do. Because at first I was like, how are we going to get this out of here?
Well, and one thing that is actually pretty easy is if you go up into the attic at night when it's dark with a really bright flashlight, you can actually find where there's holes that bats can get in. Like if one person is outside on the ground and you're flashing the flashlight, they can find like little holes around the vent areas that need to be repaired or closed up so that the bats don't get in. So, yeah, I mean those poor little guys, they're just trying to find a nice warm place to live through the winter. That's usually why they come into the attics. They're not trying to get you at all. Two of the little ones a little one and a big one, I guess, the most common species here are actually the big brown bat and then the little brown bat. I know we're really original with these names, aren't we? Not us personally, but the names of these guys.
Are those Louisville sluggers?
No. But we do have a big brown bat and a little brown bat. They're the most common species that kind of take up residence in, people's homes. And there's actually no pesticide in the state of Kentucky that has been approved to control bats. So you cannot go up there with a pesticide.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to.
Oh, don't try to kill those little guys. The commercial guys, they use a chemical that poses significant health risks to both bats and humans. So you have to be very, very careful when you're using these commercial guys that can take care of them, but you don't want to be in, kind of around when they do that. So you have to be really, really careful. And bats can enter a hole that is 3/8 of an inch. So just
That's amazing.
Yeah, how tiny that can be.
So really the main way to help that is to keep them out of your house is to provide them another dwelling.
Yeah. So if they, if you don't want them in your house, make sure that you provide them with a house of their very own.
So, if you're lucky to have a farm property like us or something like that, you have trees. So we have lots of shagbark hickories with that shag bark, those big rough ridges. And the bats actually nestle themselves in that kind of area. Rock crevices, caves, those kind of things. There's lots of bat houses in the market nowadays. There's fun kits. I know you've bought them before too, where we bought like these kits and you put them together yourself. They're easy to do.
Yes.
Or you can do DIY, YouTube, make your own bat houses. But there's all kinds of fun ways to do that. And they should be south facing and out of prevailing winds. Cedar, like everything wood outdoors, is the best because it's not going to rot as fast. But they should be hung about 10 to 15 foot in the air. And ideally a water source if you have it, but those things work really well.
Yeah, if you get them up that 10 to 15, I mean, I know our son is very tall, but he's definitely not, that 10 to 15 feet. So those bats are actually going to fly above you.
Yeah.
So it makes it really easy for them because, they do have a flight pattern. So they're going to fly in and out of that bat house, and you want them high enough that they're not, not going to be in the way of that flight pattern. So
tell me more about that little brown bat.
Oh, those, you know what? For bats, they are kind of cute when you look at them.
They're really cute.
But they can eat 600 mosquitoes in an hour. So, we always complain about mosquitoes in the summer months. But if you have, a resident little brown bat, that little guy can eat 600 mosquitoes in an hour. So that really does help out Kentucky's insect population when, we don't want them around when we're trying to enjoy ourselves outside. Those little eating insects, they can save U.S. agriculture billions, and that's with a B, billions of dollars in pest control because you're not spraying for them and you're not using chemicals that you don't want. So within the agriculture industry, it's possible that they can save up to $53 billion
It's amazing.
a year just within that industry itself because they're not having to spray. So,
and that doesn't take into account, like we talked about, the critical importance of they play as plant and crop pollinators.
No, it doesn't. No. And even with our forest industry, because that doesn't include, that what it saves the forest industry from, what they would have to spray because those bats are actually taking care of all those insects that we don't want in the bat.
And another benefit of bats is their poop.
Oh, yeah. Guano.
Bat guano. You hear the word guano and all kinds of jokes about it, but it really is a great garden fertilizer. Very safe, very easy to use. It has an NPK ratio of 10, 3, and 1. 731 costs about $15 a pound, so it's not super expensive. But it's highly effective. It can be used early in the season to prep your garden beds and then throughout the season as a general fertilizer. It's a great soil conditioner, improves the texture of our heavy clay soils, which is huge in Kentucky, and it increases water retention.
Okay, so here's another contribution that bats have made that people don't think about or probably don't even know about is actually in medical research. Did you know that bats themselves were part of the research that for artificial insemination and for birth control? So
it makes sense going back to the way that the female would hold on to the male. Yeah.
Yeah, because of that delayed fertilization.
That's
exactly.
I literally was going to say something about that earlier.
Yeah. They also help aid navigational aids for blind people.
Echolocation.
Yes, that one, the echolocation. And then because they can regulate their body temperatures, they have actually helped with surgical techniques in keeping the human body at low temperatures. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of amazing medical research that people don't give bats credit for. So, and they're actually doing, and this is, okay, so we've all heard about the vampire bat, but they're actually doing research on the venom from a vampire bat that is unlocking a lot of new medical treatments. And hopefully preventing our next pandemic.
That'd be great. So. And back to their role as pollinators. I mean, they're great pollinators. They disperse seeds like birds do. They fertilize things like bananas, avocados, dates, figs, peaches, mangoes, cloves, cashews. And most importantly, I think I know a large portion, if not, I think all your agaves are pollinated by bats. And so that is why you should be, if you like margaritas and tequila, you should be thinking of bat.
Well, there we go. Yes, Friday nights would just not be the same without a little
Or
bat.
Taco Tuesday.
Oh, yes. We love Taco Tuesday.
So we talked about earlier the declining population of bats, like our bees, and there's a particular disease.
It's called the white nose syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually first documented in 2006, so not that long ago. It was found in New York, and it has now spread to over 35 states, 7 Canadian provinces, and it's been confirmed within 12 of the North American bat species. So it's a fungal disease. So when bats go to hibernate in caves, caves can be very moist.
Yes.
And so this fungus grows. And it actually grows, I guess, where they're breathing in and out through their nose. And so the fungus, it grows right there on their noses, and it disturbs their hibernation. It results in a dehydration, starvation, and then often it kills them. So if you were to ever look at a bat up close, they really kind of do have cute little faces, I have to admit. But then it looks like they have all this white powder all over their nose and their mouth.
If they have that.
Yes, and that is that white nose syndrome.
It's killed 90% of the northern long-eared and little brown and tricolored bat population in fewer than 10 years.
Yeah, that's so sad. 90% of that whole
And
population.
there's no known cure?
No, they haven't come up with any cures for it.
I guess the only thing they're trying to do is like sanitation, things like that as much as possible, and not spread it through caves or whatever, right?
Right. And they've identified which caves that it's been found in. And so they're trying to get the bats to move to other caves. So it's, just really hard because those poor little guys, all they want to do is just go and hibernate. So, yeah. So that's kind of what we have on bats right now. Believe it or not, October 24th through the 31st is National Bat Week. So we really want to, kind of maybe think about bats in a much, happier light, a much more beneficial light, and maybe, not be so afraid of them. Know how to not handle them and not really interact with them.
Get a bat house and promote having one in your garden.
Yeah, let them eat all those terrible mosquitoes and not have to spray chemicals. So
Absolutely.
So one thing that I've always said is, and I thought this was kind of funny, but if you wouldn't snuggle with a skunk, don't bother a bat. So just be sure to report any weird behavior to the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife on their website, and be sure to bat-proof your own house and provide them with somewhere else to live. Those bats are small but mighty, and they save over $3.7 billion a year in pest control services. Okay, so I have a question for you about Halloween.
Okay.
Because I know Halloween is one of your favorite holidays.
One of them. Well,
Yes.
because my birthday's
Your birthday, yeah.
10 days from Halloween, so it's...
So happy belated
October.
birthday. But what was your favorite Halloween candy growing up?
You know the answer to that.
I would say
You're
Kit
just-
Kats, but
Kit Kats, absolutely. Reese Cups and Kit Kats. It's a hard toss-up between the two of those. But what about you?
okay, so I'm the weird kid that didn't like chocolate.
Exactly.
I know, it's terrible.
Every time I tell somebody you don't like chocolate, it's blasphemy.
I know, but I love sugar. And I just, anything, the sweeter the candy, sweet tarts. Oh my gosh, I love sweet tarts. Some of those other.
You're forgetting what you're getting.
I know, because I was like, anything sweet. Anything. I got to where, as a little bit older child, I would.
You like sweet and sour stuff.
Yeah, but I would pull the edges off of the Reese cups and eat the peanut butter with just a little bit of chocolate on top. So, yep. I was the weird kid. I was always the best one to trade candy with at Halloween because I would give you all the chocolate stuff. And
Still are.
I know.
Thank you for listening to Gardening with the Gardeners. Please subscribe or follow us to get new episode updates. And please drop a rating or review. If you have a question, either gardening, landscape, or horticulturally related, you can email us at gwtg@boonegardener.com. Thank you for listening to Gardening with the Gardeners.